everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since we've been together. I think maybe even a month. A lot's been going on. You know, life happens and recording doesn't always happen as we, oh, my tripod's a little off here. Let me get that straightened up here. Don't always get to record when we want. In the process of a move, the landlord decided to sell the house. He's been selling all his property, so had to find a new place to live. I'm still living in Akron, actually almost on the suburbs of Akron, not quite, but I'm still in Akron. But I'm in the process of moving, so that's kind of why I haven't been uploading anything. But I've been watching all the videos, seeing all the drama, seeing everything going on with my favorite YouTubers. But I decided to come on today. I had been talking about sharing my coming out story, and that was something I had wanted to do during Pride Month, and it just didn't happen. And we're already into July, and before too much more time goes by, it's going to be August, and then I'm going to be starting fall semester, and then I'm just not going to get to it. And I still feel like this camera, my phone's a little bit hinky there, so let me try and get that straightened up. There we go. So I still don't have a laptop that has a great camera, so I'm still recording on my phone. So I feel like my phone is good enough right now for my videos. So I decided to go ahead and share this today. It's going to be a little bit, I'm not going to make it really, really long. And you know, I don't mind sharing bits and pieces of my coming out story as I have my journey on my YouTube page. You know, as I look back on my different videos, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning how not to film with my phone. I don't film it in vertical, horizontal, whatever, because one way it's all boxy. The way I'm filming now, it should come out better. So I'm learning. I've only been on YouTube since March, so I'm learning. I need to learn how to do better thumbnails, but that's something I'm learning. And again, I don't take myself too serious. I see other YouTubers who have been on a little bit longer than I have, maybe a year or something, and they get so upset. And I'm like, don't. I'm not going to take myself too serious about that. I'm just going to learn what I can and go along with it and just have fun. That's what it's all about. And you know, whenever I get enough enough subscribers to become monetized, well, then I'll be monetized. If I never get monetized, then that's okay too. This is about having fun and helping people as well. And I think I might have to hold this tripod as well. So I'm going to share my coming out story today, and maybe it'll help some people. And I hope we get some, if I get comments in the comment section, I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you feel like you need to email me, that is absolutely fine. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or you want to get a little more in depth and leaving anything on the comment section. I'm happy to talk to anyone who feels that they want to talk to me about your story if you'd like. So I am going to turn 58 this month on the 25th, so my birthday's coming up. Obviously, I've been gay all my life. I think I had my first understandings of that, or knowing that I was different when I always knew something was different about me. But I think I knew that something was different about me as far as being attracted to girls when I was like 12. And I had a brief encounter when I was 12. And I'm not going to go into that other than saying it was a brief encounter. And we were caught. And my family my family basically told me that I was evil, it was wrong, and that my family wasn't very, very religious. I was born and raised in my younger years as a Lutheran. I did join the Mormon Church, and I'll go into that in a few minutes here. But they didn't talk, my mom and stepdad, my mom went to church, but no, they weren't particularly, super religious or anything, but it was, my mom didn't know about it right away. She never openly knew about it, but the family member that told me said that I would break her heart and it would destroy her, and it was better off that I was dead if she ever knew about it, and that I should just end things. I know here on YouTube that I have to be careful with what I say, so I'm not going to say anything that's going to get this video suppressed. So so at that point, I told myself, this isn't real. This can't be. I'm told that this is wrong, and I just pushed it down and acted like it wasn't real, because nobody in my family, I just knew it couldn't be. It just couldn't be. So time went on through school. In high school, and I was attracted. I'm not gonna lie, I was attracted, but I could not handle how my family felt about things, and I knew, I knew my stepfamily was, they were Southern, and Baptist, and I just knew it wouldn't, so I told myself this wasn't real. This was just like people told me, it wasn't real. It was just a fleeting thing. So that's what I told myself. I never had a boyfriend, always attracted to girls, but I just told myself it's not real. In high school, we had a neighbor that had friends who were gay. Mostly they were guys. I never met any of her friends that were women, but they were guys, and she did have one that came around a lot. He became my best friend. And once I graduated high school and I was 18, I did start hanging out with him at the bars. Still at that point, it didn't register with me that this was really who I was, because I felt very comfortable, but I just didn't allow myself to really understand that was really me. But I made it through high school. I had lots of trauma in my life, a lot of SA, and other types of trauma. When I graduated high school and I went on to college, and my cousin's fraternity, I wanted to fit in, so I became one of the girls that hung around the fraternity because I wanted to fit in. I didn't really want to have any of them as a boyfriend, but I wanted to fit in. And some things happened, and there was some SA by a large group. And I'm not going to go into more detail than that. And that stayed with me. And that right there also, I just didn't want to be with anybody. I just told myself that nobody was ever, I didn't want to be with anybody. So I just shut myself off. I quit school, and I just kind of went along my way. And shortly after that, I met some missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was living in an apartment building where my cousin lived, and he had been taking lessons from the sister missionaries. So I ended up meeting the elders because they were they replaced the sisters. So I was still young, and I took the discussions from them, and I was 3 discussions in, and these young men were very cute. They were very attractive. I wasn't attracted to them like boyfriend, girlfriend kind of attracted, but they were very nice. And they were telling me all this wonderful stuff about what a perfect life I could have. And I'm like, this will be the answer. This will be the answer. I'll feel normal. And I joined the church. My family didn't know what to think. They didn't like it, obviously. My mom was no longer married to my stepdad, but I joined the Mormons and moved out to Salt Lake. Even went on a mission. After going to school for a bit out there, the board talked to me, my bishop, my stake president, go on a mission. I thought, this is perfect. I was living the life of a good Mormon girl. And I had every intention of being a good Mormon wife, went to the temple, everything, pushed all of the feelings I had behind me. And got out on my mission, had feelings for my missionary companion, couldn't handle it, felt like I couldn't get it through to anybody what I was feeling. And I felt like I needed to take a solution that would be permanent. And that's the way I'm going to say that. I did end up coming home. I'm not going to go into detail what happened out there, but I did get to come home. And my ward welcomed me home. But I did end up pregnant with somebody that I met at home, because we found out I had bipolar disorder, but we didn't find that out till years later. It was a period of time where the mission set me off. I was already bulimic and bulimorexic, basically. And I was very manic. And I was just engaging in behavior that was just not really me. And, I just did stuff with somebody that I didn't really want to do, but I did. And I ended up pregnant. So then I just threw my whole life into my son, which I love my son. Best thing that ever happened to me. And it gave me another reason to just push everything I felt down. I was not happy with my life, but my son gave me a reason to be happy. And everything he did in school, I became the perfect mom. I did nothing for me and everything for him. He went to school through elementary school and middle school, and we were still LDS, and that was difficult, at times, because it was hard to be good LDS. It was. I was a single mom. I had a mental illness, and I was struggling to keep down the feelings that I had that kept trying to come up, that I knew just weren't going to be okay, because in the early 90s, just having a bipolar disorder and a mental illness in the church was difficult enough. So we had our moments of being inactive and then active and then inactive. And my friends from Salt Lake still cared about me, but it was difficult. And I had lots of guilt, feeling like I was just, I lived the whole thing about it's better. My family, who never accepted the gospel, it's better for them in the end than for me, who accepted the true gospel. It's better for them than for me, because what will happen to me rejecting the true gospel? So that's why I had stayed until not so very long ago, and accepting my feelings about who I was afraid that also would send me to where I didn't want to be in the next life. So I just focused on my son. And then we joined the Catholic Church. Although I never totally took us away from the LDS Church, because I was afraid to do that. I was terrified to do that. But my son went to school, St. Francis de Sales in Toledo. It was the best thing in the world for him. I do not regret that. And that's how he was able to grow up so well balanced. I mean, now we look at that he's grown up with some baggage because of me, and I accept that. Not because of my sexuality or who I am in that way, but because of my mental illness and just a lot of stuff that he had to go through. And we'll talk about that in another video. But after high school and just I never dated. People always wondered, and people always went, oh my gosh, you've never had a date since you got pregnant? I'm like, no, always with my son. And people always thought it was just so amazing what a great mom I was, and never told them this because I never wanted to date anyone. There were other things that happened over the years. I'm not going to go into it. It just would take so long. This video would just be so long. But looking back, I'm not good. I just think back to some other traumatic things that happened. I think I'll save for another video, because I didn't want to get to where I did eventually accept who I was and came out. But when we got here in Akron, just trucking along, doing life, doing my final farewell project, and I needed to get with a doctor, get some meds, because I didn't have a psychiatrist here. I wasn't getting all the meds I needed to, and I was just still getting them from my family doctor back home in Toledo, traveling to Toledo to get my meds. So I went ahead and set up with a place called Portage Path here in Akron. Great place. It's a community mental health center. I never wanted to go to one of those. I always was able to get my meds from my family doctor, or I had a psychiatrist that gave me my meds. I hadn't been in therapy in years because I had some traumatic events with some psychiatrists I had. But I went ahead and went, and they asked me an intake. They said, okay, got me set up with a doctor. They said, you interested in some therapy? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be an empty nester. My son's getting ready to move out, everything's, time for him to go on, so let me get used to this empty nest thing. So I started seeing a great therapist, a young guy, and I knew something was different. From the beginning, I knew something was going to be different. Didn't know exactly what. Well, I knew kind of what was going to be different, and I'm not going to go into that either. But I knew what was different about him. But I just knew that I knew this time was going to be different. I wasn't sure what the experience was going to be, but I just knew. And as he talked to me about going to a program at Portage Path called Pathways, and it's a outpatient program, but an intensive outpatient program for people that have had some trauma. And I didn't want to do it at first because it was 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, and I'm like, I can't do that with my job. I can't do that. So I put it off for a while. And then there was some national stuff that went on, and that created, that talked about some traumatic things that a woman had faced. I'm not going to bring it up because my videos are not about, well, they may get political at some point, but I'm not going to go into everything. But there was a national thing with somebody being appointed to a high court, let's just put it that way, that just triggered a lot of women throughout this country. And it triggered me and my experiences with my cousin's fraternity and some other issues that happened to me during that time that were also very traumatic, that also were SA. And I lost it, and I told my therapist, I will go. It wasn't very far into the program that some things, we were going along, and just things, the peels of the onion just came back, and something came up, and somebody said something, and I asked, how do you know? How do you know if you're gay? How do you know? And I just lost it. For the first time ever, I lost it. I was sitting there, I was 55 at that time. I'm 55, and I'm sitting there crying in front of a bunch of women, a few guys, but mostly women, and they were all in their 20s and their 30s, and I'm losing it. Feeling so ashamed, but yet so relieved, and saying, I don't know how to handle this. I do not know how to handle this. And so the lead facilitator for the group, who was she's the head of the program at that time, said, let's take a break. Doreen, why don't you stay behind? And she talked to me for a while, and told me that it was not unusual for women my age to not come out when they were younger. I have a friend from high school who did come out, after we graduated, but she did, she's been out for a long time. So there are a lot of women that have the courage to come out that are my age, that came out when they were younger. I know somebody here in Akron, in Summit County, who's an elected official who came out when she was much younger. She was very brave, and her partner is very brave. So there are women who, but this therapist told me it's not that uncommon. So, and the group already knew about my history and all the traumatic things that I'd been through, and well, not all of them, some of them, but then things just kept peeling back and finding out. So, next appointment with my therapist was the next day. So I talked to him, and we just started to begin to talk about, we didn't get into the sexuality part of things yet. We were still kind of processing some of the trauma and the things that had happened to me. But it took a while for me to accept who I was. It was really hard. At first it was like, oh my God, I've actually said this. But then it was like, how do I accept that this is who I am? And it took a bit. I came out to the group in October. Then in January, I came out to my son. Usually kids are coming out to their moms. I was a mom who came out to my son. I don't have a lot of family left. My mom died and my grandma died. They both died in 2007, so it's just me and my son. We don't have a lot of family left. And so it was my son. He's my only child. And I was really afraid. I don't know why, but I was afraid. And he looked at me and he said, I love you. It's not that big a deal. And I'm like, what do you mean it's not that big a deal? And he said, well, it's a big deal, but Mom, it's, and I guess it's because as I've seen things, as I've learned, the younger generations as I've learned all about the spectrum. Back in the 70s and the 80s, all I knew was you were gay, you were lesbian, or you were bisexual, or there were transgender people. That was, I knew about transgender folks, but the spectrum is just so amazing now. And I've been learning so much, but and Jared's like, my son, I'll say his first name, Jared, he's like, no, it's okay, and I said, it's not weird to you? He said, well, it's a little weird. He goes, the fact that I've never dated, that didn't bother him any. He said, if I started dating someone now, it'd take him a minute to get used to it. But, he's like, I'll be there for anything you need. My son's my biggest ally. My son and Roxy, they're my biggest allies. So I contacted, it had to be in December. It wasn't January yet, it was December, because I contacted Akron Pride Festival, and they were getting ready to have their ball to raise money for the Pride Festival. And I just said, the way I am is like, I want to get involved. I want to get involved in things. That's how I always have been. I said, I want to get involved in the community somehow. I want to get to know people, because I just came out to my son and to my therapist and to my therapy group. I just want to kind of get to know things. So I went to the New Year's ball, and the woman, the head of Akron Pride Festival, came up to me, gave me a hug, and I saw the elected official that I talked about. I saw her and her partner, kind of hung around with them, saw some other people, and it felt really awkward, but I felt like I was at home, because in the 80s, with my best friend who did die from AIDS in the late 80s, I hung around with him all the time, him and all the others. We lived in Toledo at that time, and I just remembered how I felt. I remember I got that feeling that I felt back in those days, and I felt like I was home. And I knew now that I always knew, but even then, when I was hanging around with my friend and everybody back home in Toledo in the gay bars, and I was still telling myself I wasn't gay, I felt comfortable because I knew I was home. So then in February, I went to my first Akron Pride Festival volunteer subcommittee meeting. I got involved in planning the Akron Pride Festival. And then in August of that year, of 2019, I went to participate in my first Akron Pride Festival in the Equality March. And my son walked with me in my first march. We had Roxy with that. I don't think she could make the walk now. She's 14, going on 15 in September, but she made the march with me, and that was incredible. And so, I didn't get to do it last year. This year, I'm not doing the march. I'm still working on the subcommittee meeting, but a lot has happened. I've been highlighted in Portraits of Pride here in Akron with Canopy, which I talked a little bit about Canopy in one of my previous videos. I'll link them. And that was on their website, and they talked a little bit about my story. And Portraits of a Pandemic, I'll link her stuff there. Autumn Bland did a little highlight too, and her picture that she took actually made it into the Portraits of Pride, and I think I'll put that in my thumbnail. And I also on Latter-day Saints, they did they did a little thing on me. They took little snippets from messages I had sent to them. So that what they did was, not quite as smooth as if I gave them a regular interview, because it was kind of pieced together from different messages I had sent. But I've become very outspoken and visible as an advocate. And I've started, as I've talked about on my channel, I am now in school to work on getting my second master's degree because of my not getting my license when I graduated the first time in '98. Whole story in itself. I didn't get the license and have to take everything over again. Getting it this time, which is actually a good thing because I know what I'm focusing on. Besides grief therapy, I want to work with the LGBTQ population, the community, I should say, and especially with youth, because I don't want any LGBTQ youth to feel like they have to live a life hiding who they are, to feel like they need to make a permanent solution to how they feel. I don't want anyone to go 50 years or more, or not even make it that long. So I have a passion to work with the youth. I have a passion to work with anyone who feels like they just can't make it through life because of who they are, because it's a horrible feeling. A lot of people, I've done a lot of things. I've been involved in working in politics and campaigns when my son was small. I'm not doing it as much as I used to, but I have friends, and people have thought I've been very happy over the years, and a lot of times I have been, but I haven't been who I've really born to be, as they say. And I am now. I'm still working on who I am, but I'm hoping through my YouTube channel, and I started a TikTok. I don't know about how to do all that yet, but I'm hoping that I can build my YouTube channel, that I can actually start helping people, because I'm not going to focus on all the drama. Maybe I'll do a commentary on some of this stuff, but I really just want to help people. That's all I want to do, is help people, and and have some fun sometimes. Heavy videos is not all I want to do, but so this was my coming out story. It hasn't been easy. It took 55 years for me to do it, coming out later in life. I admire all the young people now that do it and that are who they are. And I, again, truly want to be there for anyone who needs it. So anyone who wants to contact me, feel free to email me. Feel free to send me comments. If you want to send me, I prefer no hate messages or emails, but whatever. I'm tough. I can handle it. I made it 55 years, living, hiding who I was and living a tough life because I wasn't, I was shoving everything down so I can handle a few trolls if I have to. But with that being said, if you like this video, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified if you, when I upload other videos. I always forget to say that at the beginning of these videos. But please, I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good night.